The sky over Haven 17 turned white before anyone heard the alarm. For half a second, the agricultural domes glowed like artificial suns. Then the orbital defense platform disappeared. No explosion. No heroic last stand. One moment it was there, rotating slowly above the colony like a silent guardian. The next, it was expanding debris. Inside Command Dome 3, the warning sirens began screaming. Orbital defense signature lost. What do you mean lost? It's gone. Colonists froze mid-stride. Screens flickered from routine crop analytics to tactical overlays no one had expected to see outside simulations. Red icons bloomed across the display. 17 of them. Capital-class warships. The Zalrath Dominion fleet had arrived without warning. No declaration of war. No territorial dispute. No transmission demanding surrender. They simply fired. A second plasma volley tore through the upper atmosphere, slamming into the outer ring of habitation domes. The sky fractured into streaks of violent orange. Shock waves rolled across the settlement, shattering observation panels and knocking colonists to the floor. "Evacuation protocols!" someone shouted. "Seal the underground shelters." Above the burning debris field, the Zalrath flagship drifted in perfect formation with the rest of its fleet. Sleek. Predatory. Built for intimidation as much as destruction. Inside its command chamber, Supreme Commander Veilcore watched the colony burn with clinical detachment. "Resistance level?" he asked. "Minimal," his tactical officer replied. "Single outdated orbital platform neutralized. No organized fleet response detected." Veilcore's mandibles flexed in satisfaction. Human frontier expansion has been inconvenient. He studied the holographic projection of the small colony below. Agricultural grids. Mining infrastructure. Civilian transport shuttles scrambling in panic. A weak link. A message. "Send the third volley," he ordered calmly. Back on Haven 17, emergency bulkheads slammed into place as another blast struck the colony's outer perimeter. One dome ruptured completely, venting atmosphere in a violent spiral toward the heavens. Families ran through smoke-filled corridors. Automated defense turrets emerged from hidden housings and were instantly vaporized by precision orbital fire. In the central communications hub, a lone technician stared at a flashing indicator buried beneath layers of civilian coding. It wasn't labeled distress. It wasn't labeled emergency. It simply read, "Confirmation required." His hands trembled. "Do it," the colony governor said quietly behind him. The technician pressed the key. No loud transmission burst into space. No dramatic beacon lit the stars. A tight-beam quantum pulse slipped silently beyond the system's edge, invisible to standard scans, undetectable by conventional interception. Above the colony, Veilcore watched the surface ignite in controlled strikes. "This will remind the Coalition," he said, "that frontier expansion carries consequences." His tactical officer hesitated. "Commander, long-range sensors are detecting a fluctuation. Source unknown." Veilcore dismissed it with a flick of his claw. "Local stellar interference." He turned back to the burning world. What he did not see, what none of them detected, was that something had already heard the confirmation. Far beyond Haven 17. Far closer than the Zalrath realized. And it was moving. The quantum pulse arrived before the third volley finished falling. It didn't travel like light. It didn't bend through subspace the way conventional communications did. It simply appeared. Deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, under kilometers of water and reinforced composite shielding, a secure chamber lit up with a single line of text. Haven 17 confirmed under hostile erasure protocol. No alarms blared. No one shouted. There was no confusion. Around a circular command table, officers in dark uniforms read the message once. That was enough. Admiral Corvin Hale folded his hands behind his back. Verification. A quiet voice from the analytics station replied, "Triple confirmation. Civilian casualties ongoing. Zaurath Dominion Fleet, 17 capital signatures." Hale nodded once. Authorization. A second screen illuminated with a coded seal. Response authorized. There was no debate. No vote. This protocol had been written decades earlier, quietly, deliberately, and without publicity. Hale turned slightly. Activate Shield 3. Across the room, a technician hesitated just long enough to understand what that meant. Then he pressed the key. Far from Earth. Far from Haven 17. In the cold dark between systems, something woke up. At first, it registered as background radiation on Zaurath long-range sensors, a flicker too faint to analyze. Back above Haven 17, Supreme Commander Vale Corps watched the colony's surface fracture under precision bombardment. "Ground resistance?" he asked. "Minimal," came the reply. "Underground bunkers detected but contained." Vale Corps studied the tactical display with detached satisfaction. "Ensure total infrastructure collapse. Leave nothing capable of rapid reconstruction." A junior sensor officer stiffened. "Commander, gravitational anomaly detected." Vale Corps didn't turn. "Source. Unknown origin. It's not consistent with stellar activity." Before he could respond, targeting reticles across the Zaurath fleet flickered. Just once. Then stabilized. "System recalibration," the tactical officer muttered. But it wasn't malfunction. It was proximity. In the void above the burning colony, space distorted. Not violently. Not dramatically. Just a subtle folding, like fabric being drawn tight. No FTL wake signature. No standard warp flare. Just silence. Then a shadow eclipsed the stars. The first human vessel emerged without fanfare. Matte black hull. No visible insignia. Its mass exceeded Zaurath capital standards by 30%. Sensor arrays struggled to classify it. Then another distortion formed. And another. Vale Corps finally turned toward the viewport. His mandibles tightened. "How many?" The sensor officer swallowed. 5 confirmed. No, 6. Additional signatures forming. On Haven 17's surface, colonists huddled in underground shelters felt the bombardment pause. The sky above them shifted from fire to shadow. Back in Earth's underwater command center, Admiral Hale received a quiet update. Shield 3 deployed. He gave a single nod. Open channel. Across the void, the first transmission from the lead human vessel reached the Zaurath flagship. No distortion. No encryption struggle. It cut through their systems as if invited. A calm human voice filled the bridge. "You fired the first shot." There was no anger. No raised tone. Just certainty. "We are responding." And for the first time since the attack began, the Zaurath fleet understood they were no longer the only power in the system. For 3 long seconds, nothing happened. The human ships simply hung in orbit above Haven 17. Black silhouettes against the burning curve of the planet. No visible weapon arrays. No engine flares. No dramatic charge-up sequences. Just presence. On the Zaurath flagship, Supreme Commander Veilcore forced his voice steady. Target the lead vessel. 17 capital ships adjusted formation. Weapons arrays rotated. Energy cores surged. Fire! The volley crossed the void in perfect synchronization. Plasma lances and kinetic penetrators designed to crack planetary shields. They struck the human dreadnought dead center. The explosion lit space like a newborn star. For half a breath, Veilcore felt vindicated. Then the fire cleared. The human ship remained, unmoved. No visible shield flare. No structural damage. Just a faint shimmer dispersing across its hull, as if space itself had absorbed the impact. Bridge silence thickened. Damage report. Veilcore demanded. The sensor officer's voice trembled. No. No measurable damage. Before another order could be issued, every Zaurath tactical display went white. Not from overload. From override. Their targeting systems froze mid-calculation. Weapons safeties engaged without command. Engine output dropped by 12% across the fleet. What is happening? Veilcore roared. A new voice filled the bridge. The same calm human tone as before. You miscalculated. On Haven 17's surface, colonists watched through cracked observation panels as the sky shifted again, not with fire, but with controlled precision. The first Zaurath destroyer went dark. No explosion. Its weapons arrays simply powered down. Its engines shut off. It drifted. A second ship followed. Then a third. Human vessels moved through the battlefield like surgeons. One projected a narrow beam that sliced through a Zaurath cruiser's propulsion core, disabling it without detonating the reactor. Another deployed swarms of microdrones that latched onto enemy hulls, infiltrating systems faster than countermeasures could deploy. The Zaurath fleet fired again, scattered, panicked volleys. Human ships shifted position before impact, not with visible thrust, but with controlled spatial distortion, stepping sideways through microfolds in local space. Veilcore felt it then. Not fear. Understanding. This is not a defensive fleet, he whispered. His tactical officer stared at the cascading failures across their display. No, Commander. This was waiting. Within 4 minutes, 9 Zaurath ships were adrift. 3 had lost weapons capability entirely. 2 more were venting atmosphere after precision hull breaches that avoided reactor cores but crippled command decks. The human fleet had not destroyed a single vessel. They had dismantled them. Systematically. Efficiently. A final distortion rippled near the Zaurath flagship. The largest human dreadnought repositioned directly above it. Close enough to blot out distant starlight. Another transmission cut through. Human colonies are not strategic outposts. The voice remained steady. They are civilian populations. Veilcore's mandibles tightened. We will withdraw, he said through clenched restraint. There was a pause on the channel. Then, correct. The human ships did not pursue. They did not finish the fleet. They simply held position, dominating the battle space without spectacle. 17 capital ships had arrived to erase a colony. Now 12 drifted powerless. 5 retained limited mobility. And every Zaurath officer understood the same thing at once. The outpost had never been alone. It had been watched, protected, and the response had been measured, which made it far more terrifying. The battle ended without a final explosion. There was no triumphant charge. No enemy flagship shattering in dramatic fire. Instead, there was silence. 12 Zaurath capital ships drifted in powerless orbit above Haven. 17, their weapons disabled, engines offline, command structures severed from fleet coordination. Emergency lights flickered across darkened hulls. The remaining 5 ships held formation. Barely. They did not fire. They did not maneuver. They waited. Above them, the human dreadnoughts remained motionless, watching. On the Zaurath flagship, Supreme Commander Veilcore stood rigid at the center of his bridge. Tactical projections spun uselessly around him, each one confirming the same humiliating reality. 17 ships had arrived. 17 had been neutralized, and the humans had lost nothing. Damage assessment, he said quietly. The response came in fragments. Weapons grid at 23% capacity. FTL drives offline. Internal communications compromised. Veilcore exhaled slowly. Civilian casualties on the colony? The sensor officer hesitated. Significant infrastructure damage. Multiple habitat domes destroyed. Survivors detected in underground shelters. Veilcore closed his eyes for half a second. This had been meant as a warning to the coalition, a display of dominance. Instead, it had become a demonstration of vulnerability. A transmission request pulsed across their disabled network. Human origin. Veilcore nodded. Open it. The main display shifted to a simple visual. No threatening imagery, no weapon targeting overlay. Just a dark command room. A human admiral stood with hands clasped behind his back. "You will disengage," the admiral said calmly. Veilcore's mandibles twitched. "You could have destroyed us." "Yes." There was no boast in the response. Just confirmation. "You chose not to." The human's eyes remained steady. "You attacked a civilian settlement without declaration." A pause. "You will return home." Veilcore stiffened. "And if we refuse?" The admiral did not change expression. "Then we escalate." 3 words. Delivered without emotion. Veilcore understood what escalation meant now. The Zaurath fleet had arrived expecting compliance. Instead, they had encountered capacity far beyond coalition registry. Hidden fleets. Rapid deployment protocols. Technologies not shared. They had misjudged the cost. "We will withdraw," Veilcore said. On Haven 17's surface, colonists felt the orbital shadow shift. Human ships repositioned, forming a protective perimeter. Evacuation vessels descended through the smoke-filled sky, medical frigates, atmospheric stabilizers, reconstruction drones. The human fleet did not celebrate. They worked. In orbit, Zaurath ships slowly regained partial propulsion under strict human oversight. Escape pods were not targeted. Survivors were not hunted. This was not annihilation. It was consequence. As the damaged fleet began its slow retreat vector, the human admiral delivered one final transmission. "Let this be recorded." Across every Zaurath bridge, the message played simultaneously. Human colonies are not bargaining tools. A beat of silence. They are home. The channel closed. Above Haven 17, the black dreadnoughts remained, silent guardians against a now empty threat. 17 ships had come to erase a world. They left carrying something far heavier than damage. They left carrying humiliation, and the understanding that humanity's restraint had limits. The cost of arrogance had been paid, not in extinction, but in exposure. By the time the Zalrath fleet limped back across their own borders, the story had already outrun them. 17 capital ships had entered Haven 17's system. 17 had been neutralized in under 7 minutes, and not one human warship had been destroyed. Coalition networks erupted with inquiry requests. Emergency councils convened. Strategic analysts replayed the battle telemetry over and over again, searching for exaggeration. There was none. Human vessels had deployed from positions no registry had recorded. Their arrival time violated standard response projections. Their weapon systems demonstrated precision far beyond conventional doctrine. But what unsettled the galaxy most wasn't their power. It was their control. Haven 17 still stood. Damaged, yes. Scarred, absolutely. But standing. Human medical frigates filled orbit, stabilizing atmosphere breaches and deploying atmospheric repair grids. Reconstruction drones worked in disciplined formation across fractured domes. Civilian transports evacuated the injured with methodical calm. There was no rage broadcast, no triumphant declaration, just efficiency. On Earth, Admiral Corvin Hale addressed the Coalition Assembly via secure transmission. He did not stand before banners. He did not deliver threats. He simply stated facts. 17 Zalrath capital vessels initiated hostile action against a civilian colony. A pause. We responded. A Zalrath High Council delegate appeared on a secondary feed, posture rigid. This was a strategic miscalculation, the delegate said carefully. We are prepared to offer reparations. The chamber was silent. Hale nodded once. Reparations will be submitted through coalition arbitration. Another pause. Understand this clearly. His voice did not rise. Human settlements are civilian infrastructure. He let the next words settle. Hostile action against any of them constitutes existential escalation. Across the chamber, several species shifted uneasily. Existential escalation. It was not a threat. It was policy. The Zalrath delegate inclined his head. We acknowledge. The transmission ended. Days later, as Haven 17's skies cleared of smoke, a young Coalition cadet studying battle analysis asked a question that many had been quietly considering. If humanity can deploy fleets like that, instantly, why don't they dominate the Coalition? The human diplomatic envoy present smiled faintly. Because dominance is expensive. The cadet frowned. Expensive. In trust. In stability. In freedom. The envoy clasped his hands behind his back. We don't want your worlds. He looked at the updated star maps projected across the chamber. Every human colony now bore a small annotation. Protected. We just protect ours. The Zalrath Dominion signed formal apologies within 48 standard hours. Sanctions followed. Trade privileges shifted. Military observers were assigned. The Dominion survived, but diminished, and careful. In quiet strategic circles across the galaxy, one conclusion solidified. Humanity did not posture. They did not boast. They did not respond emotionally. They prepared. They waited. And if someone fired the first shot, they finished the lesson. The galaxy had dared to test a small human outpost. Minutes later, they learned the truth. It wasn't just a colony. It was a line. And humanity had drawn it clearly.